Friends, today we're talking about the portion of Terumah, and Terumah we're talking about the 19th gift, and that is giving. Giving is our 19th gift, and we'll open with a book and with a quote by a book. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. Let's see if you can guess. And the quote is that no creator is pushed himself forward with force in order to help his brethren, because his brethren just pushed him away. And this gift is of giving ruined everybody's life. Truth to be told is that when a person is striving towards building or composing a symphony, a book, an engine, philosophy, plane, or building, it was his goal, it was his creation, and he didn't really care what other people are, if other people are going to benefit from it. They teach us that the greatest gift of all is not to pursue our aspirations, but giving. But if a person is not creating anything, there's nothing for him to give. This quote, or paraphrase of quotes, is from the book of Einhorn, Fountainhead. And this book is a very controversial book. And let me tell you a little, a private story, a little personal story. When I learned in yeshiva is a place of study, of high studies, when we learn Talmudic texts. The head of the yeshiva, the head of the school, used to say, after you learn your Talmudic studies, which you study for 12, 14, sometimes 16 hours a day, go off to your room and you're allowed to read secular books, not only holy scriptures. And we said, that's fantastic. We took some books, all the literature that we wanted to read. And he says, but there's one book I do not want you to read. And we were puzzled. The head of the Judaic studies doesn't want us to read a certain book. What can it be? Can it be a book about science and religion, how science pushes away religion and disputes it? Or can it be about philosophy of heretics that disproves the existence of God? What can that book be? And we found out that it's the book about the Fountainhead by Einhorn. And we were puzzled. What is so dangerous about that book? So obviously, when the head of this Jewish studies school says not to read it, we went ahead and read it, because that's what kids do. And when we read that book, we started to understand what's so dangerous about it. That book goes against one of the most fundamental principles of Judaism and of universal morals and values of humanity, and that is giving. Our 19th gift today is giving, which obviously talks about objectivism, and it talks about and the book of Einhorn, objectivism and egoism, and giving talks about altruism and about parting from one's possessions and giving it to another. This comes into a conflict, and we understand why this head of Jewish studies says, listen, it's very dangerous. It goes against everything that Judaism believes in. So what is it about giving? What is it about in this week's portion that we're talking about giving? We start off after the Mount Sinai revolution. They're going into the desert, the Sinai desert, and God commands them to take and to build a tabernacle. Tabernacle is a temporary home, and he starts off with a verse. He says, please speak to the people of Israel, and they should take donations. And whoever wants to give from the willness of from his heart should give a donation. And the commentaries are asking here, what does it mean, V'yikhuli, and they should take from me? Usually a donation is something that you give, not something that you take. And they say something very profound and something very unique, and that is, with every giving, when you give something to someone, a possession, charity, time, money, whatever it is, you're actually taking. And that's what Rashi, the famous commentator, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, alludes to in his commentary, and he says, what does it mean out of a donation? Donation is a language of goodwill. What happens to you when you give? When you give, you exercise, you emphasize, you heighten the goodwill that is in your heart again and again and again. So basically, by giving, you're also taking from someone. Not from someone, but from the pool of good heartedness that there is in this world. And in your heart, you heighten the goodness in your heart. When you go to a poor person, you give him charity, what happens? You become a better person. So you're getting from it, you're not only giving. And that's why it says, you shall take for yourself. Because something happens to you when you give. So this is a very nice idea, and that's why giving is our fundamental gift, and that's why the whole humanity should practice giving. That all is fine and dandy. But here's the question. We're coming 360 degrees to the same question we opened with. The book of Einhorn. If the sole purpose of giving, as it says in the scripture, is for you to heighten yourself and take from other people and become a better person from it, we're back to square one. We're not caring about the other person, we care about ourselves. The purpose of giving is for us to be higher, mightier, more moral, and more ethical. So, again, we're thinking about ourselves. That's not called altruism, that is called egoism. When we look upon ourselves and want to improve ourselves. So what is going on here? Well, we have to understand that there is always some truth to the concept of objectivism and of egoism, which is when a person needs to have progress in the world. And let me give you a small example. It says that in Adam Smith in the book Wealth of Nations, and that is, no one that wants to distribute bread to the poor people will do it on his own accord. No one will create a factory for the sole purpose of feeding the poor. A person will open a factory because he wants to become high and mighty. He wants to progress the world. He wants to be rich. He wants to do good business. And the side thing that happens from this is that the poor will get the leftover breads, or he will donate them, etc., etc. So Einhorn is right in a certain sense. A natural being, if you left him on a deserted island, in his natural state, he will improve the current situation if it suits him, if it makes him progress. A person that wants to build a building will make it if it makes him mightier and higher. A person that wants to create a car does not do it because of any other sense. He wants to become the famous designer, and he is thinking about himself and his recognition in the world. But here comes the greatest gift. That is a natural situation. That is about animals. Animals also care about themselves. Beasts care about themselves. It's surviving versus living. To survive, yes, you need to take care of yourself. And that's what the world, the animal kingdom does. Survive. Yes, there's altruistic type of phenomenons in the animal kingdom. We know about ants and penguins, etc. But there's reasons for that. What I'm saying is animals versus humans. Animals do not have the concept of altruism. They care, they survive, they do not live. They don't ponder about tomorrow, they don't think about the future. Human beings are created with the image of God, and the image of God tells us that all man created equal, and that all man created in the image of God. And part of the image of God is to live, not only survive. And how do you do that? By having meaning to your life. And how do you have meaning to your life? By enhancing humanity, enhancing the human existence. And how do you do that? By looking at the other individual and therefore recognizing yourself. And when you bring society into this and you see yourself through other people, that's how humanity is enhanced. You're not in survival mode, you are living. And living is by bringing God to dwell in our midst. So, yes, society will be advanced by people that are wanting to do things for themselves. but it has to be distilled. It has to be filtered through this filter of giving and through the commandment of God that tells you, you shall give, and with giving you shall heighten yourself. So through that filter of compassion, empathy, humanity, all that, you can raise yourself and think about yourself. So it's not about surviving anymore. It's about living and about having God dwell in your midst. And how proper it is that God tells us the reason that we need to build this tabernacle, and we need to build it from what people donated, what people gave. And you should build me a tabernacle, and I should dwell amongst you. The sole purpose of giving, the sole purpose of creating a tabernacle is for God to live amongst us. And what does that mean? It means that we become better people, and we turn from survival mode of beasts to living existence of humans. Great gift. Gift 19. Start giving.